The Nintendo 64 era has to be my favorite era in gaming. My days of youth spent on collecting all 120 stars in Mario 64 and getting lost in the deep trenches of Zelda Ocarina of Time. However, there was one game that had always kept my attention, a game I really remember fondly. This game is Star Fox 64. This game blew my mind as a child, and I've loved every moment of time I spent on this game. But is this game as good as I remember it back in my childhood? Is this game still fun to play 20 years later? Find out on my review of Star Fox 64. Star Fox 64 came to be in the form of the game Star Fox 2. A sequel to the widely successful and critically acclaimed Star Fox for the Super Nintendo. Nintendo's lead designer and producer, Shigeru Miyamoto, was tasked to come up with a sequel to the original Star Fox in 1995. However, in the winter of 1995, after much consideration from Miyamoto, the idea was to make the new Star Fox game on the newest hardware, the Nintendo 64. Ultimately, Star Fox 2 was scrapped and Star Fox 64 was born. The gameplay of Star Fox 64 is actually a pretty simple concept. First off, you select the level you want to play. However, unlike something like a Mega Man game, you only get to pick the level that is next in the path. The path is something that you choose per playthrough. After deciding either the red, yellow, or blue path, then completing the first level, which is always Corneria, your playthrough officially begins. After picking which path you would like to go to, there are certain variations on how to get to different levels. For example, in the first level, I would have to keep Falco alive in order to proceed on to the next level in the red path. If I don't keep him alive, and I don't go under each of these archways, then the secret area would not be revealed, thus making you go to the blue path. Not only does this game have different paths, but you can essentially get a variety of easy and hard levels by choosing your own path. I feel this is the best way to play the game because you're not restricted to one difficulty or having the feeling of linearity. Star Fox 64 has a tight and easy to use control scheme. Anyone who picks up a Nintendo 64 controller should have an easy time playing the game, and mastering control should only take you the first playthrough the first level. In Star Fox 64, you use one of 3 vehicles provided to do certain missions on. Although some of the vehicles are slower than others, they control very smooth. The first vehicle is the R-Wing, the most basic but the best vehicle in the game. You'll be using the R-Wing for most of the levels in Star Fox 64. You shoot down enemies in the air or sometimes on the ground. Your goal is to make it to the end of each level and usually take on a boss battle. Sometimes you take on the occasional satellite, or sometimes you have to save the Great Fox from missiles speeding towards the ship. The Landmaster is operated from the ground, and is only used in 2 levels. Although the shooting is a bit more clunky, the Landmaster is in most cases, like the R-Wing, only operated on the ground. The Landmaster is still a great amount of fun, but reaches its full potential when you have mastered the controls in this game. The final vehicle for the game is the Blue Marine. This vehicle is used in only one level called Aquas. It is super slow when shooting lasers, and is not really ideal for attacking enemies in this level. Luckily, they give you torpedoes to make up for the fact that you're lacking in firepower. But I feel like this vehicle is a very unpolished and completely unfinished product. Although the vehicle is extremely defensive and can really take damage, it is my least favorite vehicle in the game. One of the most important parts of this game is the scoring system. Not only does this game have a great story, but a fantastic arcade-like scoring system. However, the scoring system in the game is more than just to get a high score in this game. For example, if you are in Sector Y and do not get a high enough score, you cannot move on in the red path. Essentially what this means is you did not get a high enough enemy kill count to help you proceed to Aquas. Not only does this help in terms of story, but the scoring system can help you get all the extra goodies in Star Fox 64. For example, if you get a high score in the level, then you get a medal. If you were to get all the medals in the game, then you would not only obtain bragging rights, but then you can unlock expert mode, complete with more enemies, an extra sound check that lets you listen to the great music in this game, and Fox puts on some cool shades for the playthrough. The level design in this game is flawless. Every level is perfectly designed around the situation at hand. Even the Blue Marine level I mentioned is perfectly suited for the flaws that the Blue Marine has. Each stage is also very unique and not one level feels alike. You do almost have the same objective for around 3 or 4 levels in the game, but accomplishing the mission is very different from one another. The final thing I wanted to talk about as far as gameplay is the graphics. While the 2D sprites have something to be desired, I really like how the vehicles in this game are ripped straight out of the future, because not only do they look great and have a futuristic feel, I feel like the graphics could have been on the early stages of GameCube games if Nintendo so desired. The music in this game has a very realistic military feel. From the intro to the final boss of the game, Star Fox 64's music is an epic masterpiece that sounds intense without it having to be too oversaturating. The sound in this game has a great sense of science fiction. Every blast of laser shooting sounds like a plasma beam of destruction just waiting for its next victim. The sound of the enemies getting destroyed does not only sound like a laser cutting through metal, it sounds very satisfying. And when you have multiple enemies on the screen at the same time, the sound becomes perfect to your senses, as you feel like you just took out an army of aircrafts. The final thing on the sound is the boss explosions. The explosions are pretty cheesy, at the same time they make a sound that makes you feel like you really have just ruined the boss's day, and have greatly accomplished the level. Also, with the explosion comes the level victory music. It's sweet, giving you the greatest feeling that you just beat the level, at the same time getting you pumped for the next level. The story of Star Fox 64 begins with an explanation of how the Star Fox team began. We learn that Star Fox was started by a fox in sunglasses named James McCloud. With shipmates Peppy Hare and Pigma Dangar, General Pepper had noticed strange activity on the planet Venom and sent them to investigate. During the mission, Pigma betrayed Star Fox. Peppy Hare had been the only one to escape and went home to tell James' son, Fox McCloud, of his father's fate. 5 years later, Star Fox was made into a new team to save Corneria. The team consisted of Fox McCloud, Falcon Lombardi, Slippy Toad, and Peppy Hare. General Pepper sends out a distress signal, sending the Star Fox team to Corneria, and so begins the adventure of Star Fox 64. After saving Corneria, Fox and company take down all the missions, finishing off with Area 6. The Star Fox team, along with a few friends, finally reach Venom for one last showdown with their rival Starwolf. After defeating Starwolf, Fox goes into the base of the one and only Andross. After going down a long trench, Fox finally reaches his true enemy, and the final battle ensues. After taking down Andross pretty easily, I might add, Andross is reduced to his brain and eyeballs. Fox outlasts Andross only to have Andross self-destruct his base. Suddenly, in the middle of the explosion, Fox hears a voice he had not heard for 5 years. It was James McCloud, who helps Fox escape Andross's base through the hallways, just barely making it out alive. Then the team heads back to Corneria, where Fox and company receive high honor and praise for their victory. The game ends with Great Fox and crew flying into the sunset, ending our adventures of Star Fox 64. This game has a great story, but what stands out is how the developers made the characters and the cutscenes in this game come to life. I absolutely adore the cutscenes. They are really well done and really get you excited to play the level before it officially begins. This game is a perfect example of how to make great cutscenes. The characters make the story great as well. Andross is inherently evil and is on a polluted planet making experiments to take over the world. Talk about crazy. Slippy, while sometimes can be annoying, is very intelligent and has a great heart. I get Slippy can come across as a very weird toad, but I feel that is what makes him an enjoyable character. He's weird, so that makes him relatable. Falco, the cocky R-Wing pilot. He's always out to prove he's the ace pilot, and never really thanks Fox for the good things he does for him. At the same time, he has a softer side. You could tell he really does care, he just doesn't know how to show it. Peppy is Fox's best friend and is very loyal to the McClouds. He's my favorite side character in the game due to the fact he is a great asset to the team, as I feel he takes out more bad guys than the other three combined. He's also encouraging at times to Fox, which makes for a loyal and wise co-pilot. The last character that I really want to talk about that has personality is Fox McCloud. His qualities make him a great leader. He is always so positive and upbeat you cannot help but root for him. He is a true example of a great protagonist. The pros in this game completely outweigh the cons for this review. The graphics in this game are amazing and really well done. The control is tight and simple to use, but at the same time could take some time to master, but when you do, the game goes from really fun to extremely fun. The sound and the music are truly spectacular in their own right. Every piece written in this game was made with such care, and the effects really stand out from other science fiction games. Overall, this game is amazing, and every Nintendo 64 owner should have this game in their collection. The only real con I have for this game is the voice acting. It seems like the characters are always asking Fox to continuously save them, which during missions, this becomes very annoying, because I could be off on the other side of the map and someone like Slippy could get an enemy shooting at them, and there's nothing I could do about it. And this happens until the level ends, which gets very tedious very quickly. Overall, Star Fox 64 is truly a spectacular Nintendo 64 game. From its grand cutscenes to its great music, tight controls, and completely stunning gameplay. A game rated E for everyone, and a game for everyone to enjoy. I give this game a 9.5 out of 10 only because the characters are a bit annoying with the voice acting. This game can be purchased on the Wii U eShop for about $10, and it is also the same price for a cartridge. This game is still great 20 years later, and I hope that all generations find this game amazing in the future. Try it for yourself and see what you think about it, and thank you for watching.